Right, hello. This will just be a quick bug report about the NS430 performance and loading issues on, well, the Persian Gulf terrain, which is the terrain that I've been which is the terrain on which I've been experiencing the most issues with the GPS. So first we'll be testing it with actual unit inside a cockpit. So I'm going to take an Mi-8. It's take off from the ground, cold. Not going to start it up. It's just a mission where there's nothing on the map. I just placed an Mi-8, that's it. So while we wait the train for to load, what is I'm basically expecting to have is sometimes some problems loading the maps, meaning that I'm not going to see anything except names and beacons on the on what you would call the moving map, I guess, even though there's nothing on it except some black to tell you basically where the ground is, and some white and some blue. Sorry, not some white, to tell you where the sea is. Just replugging my track IR. So I'm just gonna start the batteries. Go and yep. So just turning the NS430 on, telling it okay to load. Yes, please do. No GPS position. So as you can see, the map has loaded this time. And this is what the problem I get sometimes is that this map, this whole blue part does not show up. And as you can see here, I've unzoomed and I'm freezing like hell for it to load. That's, well, I mean, if you know that this problem is around, you'll load the map before you take off, but it's still a pretty annoying issue. If you're in the sky and go to the yeah, there you go. Go to the terrain height map, and then it just freezes. And I mean, proper freezes. In multiplayer, sometimes I've been having about 1 minute, 2 minutes and a half long crashes. Well, crashes, freezes, and that's what I was about to say. And I crashed, and that's what actually solved the freeze. It's the fact that I crashed that made me come back in the game. As soon as I crashed, the helicopter crashed in a mountain or in the ground. The game came back. The game started rendering again. So as you can see, I'm freezing right now. It takes almost no time compared to the lag spikes I'm having in multiplayer. But this is again because it is a very light mission, I suppose, and on a heavy mission, since I only have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Even if the game is on an SSD, it has to do some page filing. So I guess that's why. Anyway, so I have the GPS position right now. So let's test the second problem I've been having about performance is the F10 map. So with the pop-up window, and as you can see, it does not do that with 3D units. Basically, all these tiles right here are loaded. So we'll just since I'm pretty much done. I haven't got anything else to test with the 3D unit. The 3D unit, I've never really had any issues with it except that loading time. Oh, and I've pressed down again, and I had a freeze, and I'm freezing again. It's just those annoying freezes when you change zoom. It reloads the whole map, and it can, as I said, it will get a lot worse when in multiplayer with the RAM when the RAM is completely full. So let's change. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's change aircraft. So I'm gonna take a Yak-52 that does not have the GPS unit. I mean, I could just take a Huey. I'm gonna have to place another aircraft here. If necessary, I'll do it with a Huey, but the Yak-52 is what I've been noticing problems. That particular problem with the Yak-52. That's when I first noticed it. So let's just make sure it's. I'll make it parking hot because I don't want to start the whole aircraft to get power to the GPS. So yeah, basically all the map grids on the F10 map are loaded when you unzoom, and it makes the F10 map have horrible performance. Really, it really makes it bad. Down to a couple of FPSs. So if I just get the pop-up window, which I can't remember the keybind, the control, new, no. How did I manage to forget the keybind that quickly? Probably has a Windows in it, I guess. NS430. Left shift. No, that was what I was doing. All right. Oh, it was on pause. Okay, never mind. My fault. I didn't notice. I didn't notice that the prop wasn't spinning, but I didn't notice that it was not on, not running. The mission was not running. Okay, so still, as you can see, freezes when I load the map, but it does load, so I can get around that bug. It's not too bad of an issue. But sometimes it just doesn't load. Like the height map and the map itself don't load. Certain parts of it just are not here when I try to go in the NS430. I cannot use when I go in this mode right here, the altitude mode. It just shows black. It just shows black all over the screen. I have the, like this, exactly like this, basically, like what you're seeing now. I'm having a freeze and now it loaded, but it would have been like this. Basically, the map would have been completely black and nothing else. So let's test it out. And yep, you can see here with the pop-up window, all the grids are loading, and I could show the FPS. Having 10 FPS. Now, realistically, you wouldn't zoom out all that much, but honestly, it makes it painful because that's about how much zoom I would put to move around the map quickly, and when I have to load the map, because it also, what I've noticed is that it takes so much time to load that if you want to quickly move around, it won't load. But as you can see, when it starts loading, it takes a long time, but the performance does get better. If I go in a loaded area, actually, no, it doesn't. It's garbage. It's complete garbage. But yeah. So apart from the maps not loading bug, I think I've got everything that I've noticed so far about performance and loading issues. So to recap, the F10 map, which is my biggest problem, at least it's the only one that I cannot go around with. I'm using the F10 map, and this is quite a bad issue. Having all the grids loaded really kills performance. Especially, see that zoom level, you're getting 14 FPS. It's all right, but as soon as you zoom one more click, and all the tiles appear, and that's just it drops it to uh, a very uh, band it drops to a couple of FPSs. I was having 8 FPSs there. Yeah, so the second problem was the freezing problems when changing zoom level on the maps. Yeah, we just got one here. It happens all the time, honestly. Even if I've gone through all the zoom levels, sometimes in flight I will get freezes. And as I said before, when the RAM is loaded, it gets worse, a lot worse on multiplayer servers, particularly because of the page file, and it's multiple minute long freezes and some. Well, actually, I've never managed to get out of one of those freezes without either crashing the helicopter or quitting the game. Might be a problem with the current version element. I'm on the open beta version, so I'm expecting issues, but I've never had that before, and when I fly without the NS430, I get absolutely no crashing issues whatsoever. So yeah, so the loading issues when changing zoom levels, and while I've not been able to showcase it in this video, sometimes the NS430, I can't get it to reproduce every time. It happens to me rarely on multiplayer servers when you spawn in an aircraft. But the map does not load sometimes, so you just get basically here you would have been you would have I'm just gonna make that window bigger. You would have the left part, which is always here. You would have the lower bar showcasing what menu you're in. You would have the scale. You would have terrain, the terrain map, or the north, the indication of north. And in the terrain map, you would have your altitude, but all the rest would just be blacked out. You would have your aircraft in the center in the circle, but the map behind it basically would be just black. You wouldn't have the blue when you reach the sea. You wouldn't have any indication of your altitude. It's not because you're higher that you're getting that black. It's just because it's not loading. Here, even though everything is red, I'm pretty sure I would be getting everything in black if it hadn't loaded properly, like it happens to me sometimes. So I've tried to keep it short, but it's an 11-minute video, so if you need any more info, tracks are not gonna cut it. I've tried rereading my tracks, and they have not been showing the same bugs. I've actually managed on my tracks when reading them to get the map not loading bug. Sometimes it happens even in tracks because everything you do is redone in real time in the track. You're basically doing the render again and blah blah. So I've actually gotten some different issues when looking on my tracks. The issues that I've described, but sometimes they're different. I don't have all three of them at the same time. I usually have two: the F10 map when I'm using the F10 map poor performance when I'm using the pop-up window, and the freezing issues when changing scale. That happens when using both the terrain map, and just the regular moving map. And sometimes the terrain map and the map itself won't load. That happens rarely. Alright, so that's about it. Hopefully those bugs can be squashed. That'd be really nice because especially the freezes when changing zoom level are preventing me from using this in any aircraft without fearing to just, well, have to restart everything. If I freeze in the middle of the air in my Mi-8, I'm 50 meters off the ground. I'm gonna crash, and when I crash, the game resumes, but I've crashed. So yeah, hopefully you guys can do something about it. It's not an issue that I've only had on the open beta. It's been there since well Persian Gulf released. I haven't actually tested it on the Caucasus, but it seems that the issues there are uh, are how could I say it? I don't have as many freezing problems, and the freezes are not as long on the Caucasus map. So yeah, regards. This was Rex for a quick bug report, and goodbye.